couple
All
of
right.
good
It
trees.
just, they're wrong or something.
Should be fairly short.
The only thing we're gonna take.
5 minutes?
5.
Oh,
Yep.
I like hearing that.
One time you did a John State Hospital, you were set for life. You worked for got a pencil?
Should I give this a check to read? Yeah. Or wait.
Wait,
Okay.
there's so much of the other.
Oh, thank you.
Hello, Allison.
I'll call this meeting to order. I am going to skip the pledge because we did that earlier. Roll call.
Mr. Ball?
Here.
Mr. Behrens, absent. Mr. Christensen?
Present.
Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Ms. Lautner, absent. Mr. Noonan?
Here.
Mr. Popa?
Here.
Mr. Trevis, absent. Mr. Wessel?
Here.
Mr. Yeomans?
Here.
Okay. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Move to approve.
I'll second.
Motion by Steve, supported by Ty. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We got an agenda. Okay, moving on to action items. We've got a bunch of minutes to approve.
Move to approve the June 19, 2019 regular session minutes.
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Move to approve the August 21, 2019 minutes.
Support by Clayton. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Okay, we're on September 18th. You guys roll on that.
I didn't see those, so.
Okay.
I haven't.
Do you wanna wait on the next?
Wait on those.
Those were sent out. Did nobody get the link?
I saw them.
I saw them, and I'll make a motion to approve both of them, the committee as a whole and the regular session.
I'll support that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, financials. Did everybody get a copy? They're sitting up there.
I looked at them.
We got 47% to spend.
Yeah, our capital outlay is.
Wait, I was gonna say, we haven't touched capital outlay yet. We've got it earmarked for something.
Well, 10,000 of it's gonna get rolled back. The plan was to take the grub shack money out of that, but that's not gonna happen. There was a couple of pieces of grooming equipment that
Scott was looking at.
looking at, but it's not gonna total up to 45 grand.
Well, actually 35, right?
Right, yeah.
And then we had a piece of equipment that we ordered.
Yeah, that's what I was, the
Okay.
grooming equipment.
Yeah.
I think it was like $5,000. If I something, not even 5,000.
There's a, yeah, that was the roller. It's gonna make a lot of sense to have, the piece of equipment that we have, that we drag around at Veronica, have that same piece actually over at Miles.
The groomer itself.
Yes,
The
snow
physical-
groomer?
The physical piece that you drag around.
The
groomer piece.
attachment.
Yeah, the attachment. Because then, we could take that UTV in a smaller trailer and cart that piece back and forth pretty darn easily. That, as it turns out, the other one is so wide that you almost have to put flags on it. And you have to use the giant trailer, and
Wide
when you
load.
get in the winter time, and then you're just not gonna do that.
Right.
So, there is that piece, and I think that's more of a standard piece. Both of those should be looked at and ordered. Scott's not here. When's Scott coming back?
Where's the second one?
He might be back sooner, depending on if his physician approves light duty work.
I will give him a call.
paid for that
and-
last year.
That was last year. Oh, God.
Because we have a meeting next month. So if he's got,
Because it was
if he
done
tees
this
it up,
spring,
we
but
still have a chance.
We held it from last year.
I'll put that in his ear.
What? To stop milking it and get back to work?
Pretty much.
Woodley. Yeah, Woodley.
Okay, are there any other questions on the financials?
Are we planning on doing anything with our capital outlay, or we?
It's gonna depend on how much that grooming equipment costs. I mean, we can, if there's, we've got a couple months left here, we gotta go out for a request for proposal
Yeah,
support, that's the biggest issue.
For anything we do, I mean, there wasn't something like the grub shack at Old Settlers or something we,
That was the plan to do it this year, and that's almost 30 grand, but it's not gonna get done until next year, so it's gonna come out of 2020's budget.
so in essence, we're probably giving back 30 grand of our budget.
No, I think
To roll it
they
over.
agreed
It
to
doesn't
roll
roll.
it over.
They did agree to roll it over.
They did?
Yeah.
Oh, well then, heck, beautiful.
So next year we can.
So the grub shack will be taken care of without
Having to take it out of
screw
next
up
year's
the
budget.
Perfect.
And, but what we're gonna have to do is in January, February, look at what we wanna get done and get rolling on it, whether it's some parking or working on the trail at
Yeah,
miles.
not wait till
whatever we need to-
October.
Yeah, we really need to get busting some tails. So that we
Playground
can-
equipment,
Get it in 20.
Yes,
playground equipment.
because I'm guessing that, I mean, from some of the, even the excavating companies that I talked to, I mean, they're halfway booked for next year already, so. Okay, anyways.
Move to approve the financial.
Support?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Financials are approved. I'm gonna, can I pass it on to somebody? I have to step out to make a phone call.
Sure.
Steve?
You betcha.
Let people go.
We're on to committee reports and recommendations. Miles?
Do you want to hit it or you want me? No, we seem to have trouble getting ourselves together to create a report.
The, yeah, Kyle has not been calling meetings. I can do a to-do, call Kyle. And at this point in time, it looks like we could take what we have from Klaus and do what Veronica did, basically do some ordering and maneuvering and whatnot.
Seems like he's got a pretty good handle on it. What I saw in his drawings and stuff here. I feel comfortable with that.
So is there a need to have Kyle call a meeting, I guess? We've got quite a few meetings coming, don't we?
Yeah, it seems like Klaus is right on track to me.
Okay. Yeah, and as far as the tennis courts go, I think, we've been talking the other side of the street the whole time, and to have a space that's big enough for the parking and for that many tennis courts, and a circular path, and the buses come and go, and, we're gonna eat up that 10-acre piece quite a bit just to do that project over there. If we tried to do that project on our side, so to speak, we'd eat up the whole open piece. The driving range would go away, and Scott says the driving range gets used a lot, and I always poo-poo the driving range, but apparently that gets used a lot.
It does get used a lot.
So,
A lot more than a person would think.
Yeah.
Even if it gets moved to the east, and then you put a circular road in there and have tennis courts next to it.
That kind of has to happen long term, it really does. You can't have a driving range right down the middle of your walking paths and your ball fields and things like that.
Well, if we do parking and we do another decent restroom, and we maneuver our baseball fields to where they should be, and we have a practice soccer field. You know, and you start jamming in
It could get
parking
real-
area,
the only
parking
thing
area
that-
and eight tennis courts, that's
Only
that's
thing
huge.
that could get you some room is that basically only the one ball field is used, and there's 3 fields there. Sometimes the 2 of them are being used, but mostly just one at a time. So we could talk with the groups about it, but if you did one
I think
nice field,
One good.
eliminated 2, that would.
everybody's agreed that the pony field needs to go away.
Klaus had a playground on that spot.
I know, there's a lot of things I think that he's been maneuvering around and going off of verbally and stuff, but as things progress with these tennis courts, I think if we get some sound information to go on, or that yes, we want to partner with you guys, then we need to sit down and take a hard look at it. Because if it's not, if it's a mute point, then we don't have to worry
Well,
about it.
I think we should have Klaus in the room too, because he knows the spaces.
Right.
That are, you know, the physical space that's needed for this and the physical space that's needed for that. And we can,
Is there a chance you could get rid of one ball field, move the driving range across the street, and then put the tennis courts over on the park side, so that the restrooms are there and the water's there?
and that's not, I don't mind that idea. You go kitty corner with the driving range, that's probably a pretty long shot on that 10-acre piece. That's probably not a bad use for that.
What I think you guys should do is meet as a committee to discuss all these things of where you guys want to go and where you want to do and eliminate that.
But not till we hear from.
And then come back.
Till we hear the.
Otherwise, we're gonna be going round and
We just had our
round.
committee right here and now, I think.
Well,
But I think most of it is pending some action by Glen Lake Schools
Yeah.
wanting some tennis courts.
And plus some of that other stuff they were talking about.
Yeah.
And then bring
The other
it.
aspect of the 4-H, you know, I don't really have a strong finger on the pulse with that group.
I don't either. Like I said, when I was at 4-H, we used that quite a bit, because we did the Achievement Day, and then as a 4-H group, the Procolites group, we'd try and go down there 4 or 5 times a year and practice, because it gets the cattle used to the arena and people looking at them and the whole deals. But in all honesty, I don't know if that happens anymore.
Who's the contact there?
Do you want me to get a hold of Jen Berkey, she's the district director, and then have her contact you?
Yeah, that'd be
And
good.
have a conversation?
Yeah, I mean, we could have her come to a meeting
Yeah.
as well.
Well, I've
Just to get a
always
feel
been
for
given to believe
if
it's
that is
kind of
being
like
used.
Yeah.
That's, you know.
Wedding
And
chapel
even
on
Rosalie
Old
might
Settlers is
know.
just something
Yeah,
that
that's very good.
On occasion.
we don't get involved in because it's kind of grandfathered or something. I guess that's what I've always felt about it.
The 4-H.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's always been a part of that park. It used to be on the other side of the road where the soccer field is, but when they put the soccer field in, moved it across the road.
No hard feelings there.
Oh, boy, that was that was a big deal. But anyways,
So,
it
yeah,
would be good to talk to those folks and see, because if it's not something that is going to be used, I mean, we can still save some area for their target practice and whatnot, but we can make some use of that space rather than having that arena there.
You know what died a natural death is the concept of having horse trails
Oh, yeah.
at miles.
Well, yeah, that was kind of a thing there for a while until they were going
That
across
died
French
because of the
Rock. and
signs.
Had some disagreements.
Well,
People
horse
were riding
riding
around
is
there.
important.
And
Well, the one
This
lady,
guy,
yeah, the one
lived
in the back there.
and she was talking about having a trail.
Yeah.
And there was some talk about 4-H liking the idea, and the younger riders could drop their horses across the street and do the trail across the back.
I have a question.
That whole thing.
You know how there's a snowmobile trail that kind of cuts through the county?
Yeah.
We don't have any documentation of that either, and I'm wondering, when you're talking about horses, could the horses go on that trail? The snowmobile trail? Because it's just a path?
Well, the snowmobile trail doesn't go on the county property.
Right.
Right.
It's like part of a state trail, or what?
It's a DNR trail.
Okay, is that listed in the DNR segment of the plan?
It's mainly private property.
Yeah.
They get permission to go across private property for a
temporary
DNR
thing,
trail. is
yeah.
what
Right,
it
but
is.
it is a state maintained trail?
No.
No,
Local.
Yeah.
no.
Can
it's
anybody use
volunteers.
it?
No,
Can anybody use it?
it's
Oh,
not
they
open,
groom
it's
it
not
and
a,
everything.
Yeah, the
it's not a state trail,
volunteers
so it's not
on Wednesday
open
comes
for
up.
recreation in the summertime.
Not in Leelanau County.
It's,
They-
it's
they bought
specifically a
it.
snowmobile
So how
trail.
is it a
But
DNR
can,
trail?
can I go run my snow machine?
Cause they
Yes.
take claim
Yeah.
to it. Cause you
So
gotta
you're
buy,
saying it should be
because you
listed.
gotta buy
So I'm
DNR
wondering
passes
if
for your
maybe if it's
snowmobile,
not
that's
on
why.
there, because you have assets listed by entity.
Oh, okay.
Maybe something should be on there as far as, it's a DNR maintained winter snowmobile trail. I mean, you're listing.
Well, if it's there and I
everything
can
else.
use it, and everybody, it's not listed in our plan.
Okay, yeah, we can put it in.
Yeah.
That's a good
Well,
thought.
that's a good idea.
I didn't even think about it until you're talking about the horses, and then I'm thinking, well, I wonder if they could do that trail, and then I realized we don't have anything in there about the snowmobile.
Yeah, it's open December 1st through March 1st.
Okay.
Interesting.
When I send this thing marked in tomorrow, you want me to put it in there?
Sure.
Good suggestion.
That is a good. But anyway, the horse thing died a natural death, and I don't know if that's ever gonna come back, but you think about the other side of the street, and one of the things that went with the horse, trail idea was to have some circular parking in the 10-acre field for the horse trailers,
Right.
where they could drop the horses and then go do their little trail, come back, and it'd be for little beginner people that wanted to have a real short trail. It's not much of a trail.
Well, horse riders are utilizing Alligator Hill, I can attest to that. You have to be really on your toes when you're walking.
Road apples.
Okay.
Okay, anything else under miles?
That's as far as I got, I think we do.
Old Settlers? I don't have anything right now, other than I need to get the contract signed.
Right.
I think he has signed it, I just haven't picked it up from him.
I swung through the other day and on my site visit route, and I saw that they were planting in the bed area.
Oh, okay.
So I swung in just to say hi. Laurel was there, and she had acquired from whatever nursery their leftovers, and
Oh, great.
and they, you know, dug them up out of the back of whatever bed at the nursery, and they were planting them in there, and she was asking about they had put up the little string, stakes and
Oh,
strings
yeah.
around the edges, and said, could they keep them there for another year? Because they were just gonna have them there this year. I said, sure, keep them as long as you need them. She said, it really helps, because that tells people kind of to go here, not there.
Yep.
I said, keep them as long as you want, and then, so she was just tickled that there were this many plants, and I forget the name of the plant. It was a native plant for the plantings, and there were a couple other people helping, and they were doing significant plantings in that bed area, which I thought was pretty nice.
It's great.
Could we put then under that Old Settlers for old business for next meeting that we'll check into the property across the road?
Yeah, we can do that.
We'll just have it. I don't know how you carry old business, but
Well, it's not gonna be old business,
It'd
it'll just
be
be under
under-
the parks.
Be a part of the topic.
part of the agenda.
And the report part.
Yeah, under just the committee report.
Yeah, I see Old Settlers is contemplating kayak racks, in the 5-year plan. What happened with the rowing club people?
Haven't heard back from him.
Oh,
I
I
haven't
went
either.
down, I went down in there as well to go check this down and see, and there's a really nice spot for them to put that down there.
On the short side.
Yeah.
Cool.
Was that those two women that was in here?
Yeah.
They were gonna get with the road commissioner and see if they wanna use the end of our road too.
Oh,
I don't even know their names.
I don't remember either, they're back in the minutes somewhere, but
Yeah, I just know the
Excellent,
one.
contact those two,
They
you're
have
on
the same
that.
first name.
Are you on the Old
No,
Settlers?
no,
he's
no, I'm not. Well, I was just wondering why we have kayaks, because I think they were talking about rowing.
Well, they're not talking about, I don't think that's kayak racks, it's UA
Access.
accessible.
Oh, it is
Kayak
access.
access.
Better access.
Oh. Okay.
Who can contact those two? Or should we? Just let
Well,
it
they'll
die?
come back.
They'll come back if
Yeah,
they
they'll
want.
come
They
back.
should come back every month.
It's fine.
Rowing season's over. Unless you got a sale.
They might have found another option, it's hard to say.
I volunteered to be their instructor.
I know you did.
Okay, on to the next item. Veronica Valley?
You have a draft motion?
Yeah, that's it. John, do you wanna make this motion?
Okay, Veronica Valley, we had an extensive meeting. You saw where we went through all the things that we want to do, and we essentially spent a couple hours talking about each one of those. I'm not going to bore you on them all. A lot of them has to do with getting the weeds out, spray and brush. We're contacting who can do this and who can do that. But it's all in that last page if you want to study it. I don't know, we put it all in there and I don't want to go over it all.
Do you wanna make this motion that you guys had for the 2%?
Oh, yes. Then we said we gotta bring this in front of the board, and that's why we drafted it. We're gonna make a recommendation
To this group.
to this group here, to recommend that the Parks and Recreation Commission to apply for the Grand Traverse Band Tribal 2% allocation funding to assist in eradication of invasive species within Veronica Valley County Park. And I think everybody's got a copy of that motion.
Is there support?
I have it.
I'll support.
I have it, yeah.
We have a person, Bill Watson has volunteered to move forward with the application. He's been in touch with Laurel to see the specifics of what he'll have to do to put forth that application.
And we okayed money for the pesticide to kill the stuff that he does, right? Last time.
Watson?
It depends on which one which ones you're talking about.
This is,
That
this
was
is
for
the
the
youth
demo.
guy. We bought pesticide or said it was okay.
That was
to
for the
buy.
demonstration.
Olive.
Yeah.
That was the demonstration? Oh,
I think the cost of the brush killer could easily fit within our maintenance budget.
Yeah.
And it would be something that we could cover easily that way. We wouldn't necessarily have to okay it in a specific motion, I don't think.
Did they figure out how to kill me?
But
Cut it off.
Dave is gonna get a hold of Watson and see what we can do and what we gotta do.
Well, that motion is to go forward with that, and and it's okay that we just enlist a volunteer, do we have to add in the motion too?
Our 2% allocation cycle for the end of the year ends at the end of November. That's why you're voting on this today, so that you are going to be essentially somewhat of a pass-through. You are championing this group to do the work on your behalf, and you'll be an intermediary in the payment if you're successful in getting the allocation.
And
So
I
this
think
motion
Watson,
needs to be worded a little differently.
Well, I have motion by Poba that the Parks and Recreation Commission apply for Grand Traverse Band 2% allocation funding to assist in the eradication of invasive species within Veronica Valley County Park, because this will now go to the board for their November cycle.
correct.
And if we're successful, that Bill is gonna do the work.
Yeah, he's gonna look into it, and
So the
he's,
board gives it their blessing, and then we turn
And then
Bill
then-
Watson loose.
Well, he's got to give us the application, we forward it to the tribe. When we hear back from the tribe, if it's successful, at that point, you can set something up with him.
Bill Watson is pretty good in filling out that
Do we
application.
have to mention Bill Watson in this motion? No?
Is the funding to go to Youth Works for their
That
labor?
group will do the work.
Those 2% applications are due in November.
That's why we're voting today.
We'll bring it in front of the board.
Well, Bill is gonna
We
apparently do
don't-
the work
yeah,
before
we-
that.
And I'll help Steve craft an EDS for the board for this application.
Okay, so this is, the way this is worded and supported is good. We vote on it and away it goes.
Because
Yep.
what if Bill Watson kind of falls through.
Dave is on his butt. He's talking with him real good.
Well, we're gonna have to, at that point, we're gonna have to scramble, I guess, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Dave will be back in a
And
week.
again, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Chet had heard directly from the tribal chairman that
Depends how much
they
money.
prioritize how they fund things, with first responders being number one priority, followed by human resources. Like the Cancer Society or the Cancer Foundation, they were successful. Leelanau Christian Neighbors was successful. A lot of other things, they're not nearly as successful in obtaining funding. So don't consider this a done deal.
I understand, we want to
Okay.
just put it in.
Okay.
Yeah,
It
we
doesn't hurt to try.
realized that, and Dave didn't, he had talked to Bill, and Bill hadn't heard of that prioritization, but he still felt relatively confident, so. You know, he's doing the work, so let's go for it.
And if he doesn't get the grant, if we don't get the grant, we ought to move forward doing it anyway.
We are still funding some of the sprays, but it'd be nice if there was a grant.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Any other thoughts from Veronica?
Does this work have to go out for bids? Say we get the 2%.
We'll have to worry about
Does
it. See how much it is.
Well, when he's drafting his 2%, he's gonna have all that information relative to himself, right?
Right,
Right.
the cost and everything.
Right.
So it wouldn't have to go out for bids.
Anything else for Veronica? Maintenance goals, Scott's not here, so we're gonna skip those for now. Public comment is here. Commissioner comments. Okay. Nothing from me.
Can I
Motion-
comment that those maintenance goals, should we just keep taking that off? They appeared from 2 years ago. Scott doesn't maintain any. Do we want to keep having maintenance goals and not do anything about it on our agenda? Or should just cross it off?
We should have Scott here when we discuss it.
Okay.
Well, I would like to comment under public comment, and this was something that we had discussed during the Veronica Valley Committee, how it wouldn't be a bad idea to add to your agenda beginning next year, 5-year general plan goals. And that way you're always thinking and you're following up on your 5-year plan. Because a lot of times when you were looking through the most recent one that's obsolete, it was like, oh, we didn't do this, we didn't know it was on there.
That's true.
So that way it's always on the front burner.
I think it's something the vice chair
Good
should
idea.
do.
It would make it more useful and relevant.
Yeah, I think that's, instead of just having it as a
Right.
document. as an
Scratch my
obligation.
comment then.
Could you give us your name, ma'am, for the record on that public comment?
Make sure it's typed up properly.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn.
So,
So
We're,
did they kill it, the autumn now fairly easy or?
yeah, you gotta cut it off and put Roundup on it, and that kills it.
paint-
Roundup.
Paint
well,
the stump.
there are other chemicals that work better.
Tordon was probably the best.
Is
It's
that-
more-
They're good for frost.
If you go to